My own mother tried to deceive me. She used the person dearest to me, my grandfather, to lure $7 million out of me. That evening, as I celebrated the biggest deal of my life, she called, sobbing into the phone, and told me a heartbreaking story about an accident, mortal danger, and an urgent surgery not covered by insurance. She blackmailed me with my love, hoping that panic would cloud my mind and I'd hand over the key to my fortune without hesitation. But she miscalculated. She had always underestimated me. My name is Chloe. I'm 28. At the moment the phone rang, I was standing in my penthouse overlooking the night city of Chicago, which stretched below me like a circuit board sprinkled with diamonds. Just a minute earlier I had popped a bottle of vintage champagne to celebrate the sale of my second tech startup. $7 million wasn't just numbers on a bank account. It was code written through tears of exhaustion, sleepless nights fueled by caffeine and adrenaline, birthdays of friends missed, holidays only glimpsed in social media photos. It was my personal Everest, one I had climbed alone. And there on that summit, my own mother decided to trip me and take it all away. Chloe. Thank God you answered. My mother Sarah's voice on the speaker wasn't simply troubled. It was shattered into 1,000 trembling shards, each designed to pierce my heart. In the background I heard muffled guttural sobs, like the howl of a wounded animal. That was my father, Mark. Their duet of despair rehearsed to perfection. What happened, Mom? What's wrong with Dad? I asked, and my own voice sounded foreign to me. Part of me already knew it was a performance, but decades of conditioned reflexes still made my heart skip a beat. Not Mark. It's your grandfather. Arthur. She paused theatrically, giving me time to absorb the gravity. He fell off a ladder. Terrible fracture. Internal bleeding. The doctors say, they say he needs urgent, complex surgery. Experimental. And the insurance. Chloe, the insurance doesn't cover it. Grandpa Arthur. My only anchor in this world. The man who gave me my first soldering kit when I was 10 and told me I could build whatever I wanted. The man who would bring me pots of homemade soup at my dorm while my parents only called to ask if I'd found a normal job yet. The thought something might have happened to him was the only thing that could pierce my armor. And they knew it. How much? My voice turned sharp, businesslike. A defense. As long as I was dealing in numbers, I could keep the emotions under control. 7 million, Chloe, she exhaled, and her voice betrayed poorly hidden triumph, quickly covered up with another sob. The whole amount up front. Otherwise they won't even start. We only have a few hours. His life is fading. 7 million. The exact sum wired into my account 3 hours earlier. Coincidence? In my family there were no coincidences, only sloppy schemes. Cold, serpentine certainty replaced the panic. They'd been spying on me. Probably hacked my email or eavesdropped somewhere. They knew about the deal and they had been waiting. The money is in the account, Mom. I can't just transfer that amount instantly. The bank will flag it, freeze it. It takes days, you know that. I started to play along, feigning dismay. Cash. Chloe. What about the cash? From the safe. You told us you had some for a rainy day. Now her voice had that desperate, greedy edge. There it was. The key moment of the script. And then it all clicked. A week ago, before I left for Chicago, my father dropped by, supposedly to fix a leaking faucet. I found him in my study, where the safe stood. He had recoiled, embarrassed, brushing his hand against its steel door. Just admiring your taste, Chloe. Fine safe. Titan brand, right? Best on the market, he said with an unnatural smile. I hadn't thought much of it then. Now I realized. He had been scouting. The code, Chloe. Give us the code. We'll take the money and rush it to the hospital. Every minute counts. Now it was my father, snatching the phone, impatient, his voice rough. I closed my eyes. The Chicago panorama vanished. My entire life flashed before me, woven of their betrayals. 12 years old, saving up for my first simple computer by walking neighbors' dogs. A month later, the money gone from my jar. They told me mice must have eaten it. Then I saw Mom with a brand new handbag. Exactly the same price as the computer. 17, earning a grant for MIT. They bragged to everyone about how they invested in my education and demanded my first paycheck as a return on investment. 25, selling my first startup. They immediately appeared with a laundry list of urgent needs. A new car, kitchen renovation, a holiday trip to recover health ruined by worrying about you. They never loved me. They loved what I could give them. And now they'd gambled everything on my love for the only one who loved me unconditionally. In that moment something inside me died. The naive little girl who still hoped to earn their love. In her place was born something cold, sharp, merciless. Yes, of course, my voice quivered, and I applauded my own performance silently. The code. 0-8-1-5. My birthday. August 15th. I deliberately gave them the most obvious code. What they probably already fantasized about trying. My real code was far more complicated. The date of the first public library opening by Benjamin Franklin. For two people who hadn't read a dozen books in their lives, my birthday surely seemed like genius. Thank you, honey. We knew you wouldn't abandon us. We love you. My father shouted, the falseness of his voice almost tangible. I'm flying right away. I'll cancel all my meetings. I'll be there on the first flight, I said, finishing the scene. Yes, come, sweetheart. We'll be waiting at the hospital. He hung up before I could even ask which hospital. Details didn't matter. The only thing that mattered was the safe. I lowered the phone. Silence filled the penthouse. The champagne in my glass had gone flat. The celebration was over. War had begun. I called my assistant. David, I need a ticket to the next flight to Cleveland. The very next. Cancel all my meetings this week. Yes, urgent family matter. Very serious. As the taxi carried me through Chicago's neon canyons to the airport, I felt no panic, no grief. Only icy, crystalline calm. My mind was processing their plan piece by piece, like code. It was crude, primitive, built entirely around emotional shock, blind filial loyalty. They thought I, genius of algorithms, remained a gullible child in real life. What they didn't know was that they had taught me the hardest code of all, human treachery. And they didn't know the most important thing. After Dad's odd interest in my safe, unease had settled in me. I am a strategist. I always calculate risks. Keeping $7 million in cash at home, with my greedy parents knowing, wasn't risk, it was stupidity. The very next day, under the cover of night, I hired an armored cash transport. All the money went into a secure bank vault downtown. And into the empty safe I placed a gift. My little project in applied psychology and family justice. The flight to Ohio dragged on. Sitting by the window, watching the blanket of clouds below, memories rushed in, each like a drop of poison. 10 years old, standing on stage at the City Math Olympiad with a diploma. Searching the hall for my parents' proud faces. But when I reached them, Father whispered, "Was there a cash prize?" His face fell when I shook my head. 22. Graduating with honors. At the ceremony, Mother loudly complained how much my education had cost them, hiding the fact I had studied on a grant and worked 3 jobs so I wouldn't ask them for money. They always devalued my successes, claimed them, or twisted them into their own losses. They weren't horror movie monsters. They were worse. Small, domestic vampires draining me quietly, day by day, masking envy and greed with fake parental care. The plane landed in Cleveland. I didn't go to a hospital. I knew no one was there. I took a taxi to the only true home I had ever known. Grandpa Arthur's house. My heart seized with one real fear. What if I was wrong? What if this was the one time they told the truth? What if he really was hurt, and I, basking in my righteousness, had wasted precious time? That single fear was the only thing that could rattle me. The taxi stopped at the small rose-covered cottage. I bolted from the car, ran to the door, frozen before the bell. Seconds stretched. Then the door opened. There stood Grandpa Arthur. Old jeans, a plaid shirt, watering can in hand. Alive. Healthy. Slightly surprised. "Chloe? Sweetheart, why so early? Weren't you supposed to be in Chicago for another week?" He smiled his warm, kind smile, eyes crinkling into familiar rays. And the dam broke. I rushed into his arms, sobbing, clinging to his shirt like a lifeline. But these weren't tears of relief. They were tears of farewell, to my last childish illusion. I mourned not my foolishness, but my so-called family, one I never truly had. I mourned the void where parental love should have been. Hey, what's wrong, Bertie? Grandpa stroked my hair, his hands smelling of earth and roses. Something happened at work? No, Grandpa. Nothing happened. I pulled away, wiping tears on the sleeve of my cashmere coat. Just missed you too much. Wanted to surprise you. I have to stop by my old place, some things to deal with. I didn't tell him. I wouldn't ruin his world, in which his daughter and son-in-law were flawed but still family. He deserved peace. This was my battle alone. Well then, come back for dinner. I was just about to make my steak with mushroom sauce, he offered. Of course, Grandpa. I promise, I said, and it was the truest promise I'd made in years. Now, the finale. I took a taxi to my old apartment, where I'd lived before moving to Chicago, where that safe still stood. My heart beat steady, cold, like a metronome counting down the last seconds of their old lives. The front door was ajar. Amateurs. I slipped inside silently. They were in the living room. Both of them. Mother hunched on the couch, clutching her handbag like a lifebuoy. Father on his knees before the gaping, empty safe, fumbling inside as if $7 million had just turned invisible. Greedy bewilderment twisted their faces. Rats in an empty pantry. They froze when they saw me, shocked. I was supposed to be rushing to a fake hospital. Chloe. Father leapt up, plastering on a mask of joy and tragedy. Hideously fake. What luck you're here. We were robbed. Terrible. We came here to get money for Arthur, entered the code, and the safe. It was already empty. Everything's gone. Mother nodded so hard her head nearly fell off. Gone, Chloe. Every cent. Robbers. They must have been watching you. Their play was so pathetic it provoked not anger, but disgust. I walked over, peered into the safe, then slowly turned to them, letting the silence weigh. Robbed? What a shame. My voice was quiet, calm, and that calm chilled them more than a scream. And how did these robbers get the code, when only I knew it? We don't know. Maybe professionals cracked it. Father stammered, eyes darting. Or perhaps someone gave them the code. I stepped closer. Say, 0-8-1-5. My birthday. Right. He paled. Mother gasped, clutching her mouth. But you've overlooked one detail in your brilliant story. I paced like a prosecutor. There weren't $7 million in this safe. I moved them last week. Immediately after our little chat about safe makers, Dad. I decided holding that much cash at home wasn't safe. Apparently, my instincts were correct. I stopped before them. Now their faces were raw with primal fear. Masks off. The game over. So what exactly did you find in the safe, since there was no money? I asked, savoring it. Silence. Just wide-eyed stares. Allow me to remind you. You opened the safe and saw one single gorgeous gift box, tied with a silk ribbon. You probably thought it eccentric money storage. Maybe keys to a vault. Either way, you couldn't resist. You tore the ribbon, opened the box expecting victory. I paused. Show me your hands. My voice allowed no refusal. Father instinctively hid his behind his back. Mother dug hers into the couch. Too late. I'd already seen when I walked in. No need, I said. I already see. Bright, indelible violet stains all over your fingers and palms. Special dye used in marking stolen bills. Completely harmless to health, but very stubborn. It will stay for 3 weeks. The mark of your shame. Mother stared in horror at her stained hands. But that's not all, I continued, ice-cold satisfaction pouring through me. Inside the box, along with the dye, was a glitter bomb. Millions of microscopic particles now cover your clothes, your hair, your car, your home. They glow under UV. And in the lid, a miniature GPS beacon transmitting your location to me live. And the cherry on top, a hidden camera with a motion sensor. Recorded everything. Your greedy faces, your words. We're rich, Sarah. Isn't that what you said, Dad? That video's already saved on multiple secured cloud servers. A lovely family documentary. Mother broke down sobbing. Real tears this time, tears of humiliation, helplessness, fear. Father collapsed onto the couch beside her, clutching his head. Chloe, darling, Forgive us. We don't know what came over us, he mumbled. Don't call me daughter, I cut him off. A daughter is someone who's loved and cared for. You know only price tags. Today you tried to sell my love for Grandpa for $7 million. But you failed. That love is priceless. Unlike you. You now have a price. The violet on your hands, the shame you can't wash away. I walked to the door. I won't call the police. Not out of pity. But because I don't want Grandpa Arthur to spend the rest of his life knowing his daughter is a thief and his son-in-law her accomplice. I'll preserve that illusion for him. But for me, you're dead. From this second, you don't exist for me. No more money. No more calls. No more help us. I erase you from my life. Forever. I stepped out, closed the door behind me without looking back. I didn't hear whatever they shouted after me. I didn't care. In the elevator, for the first time in years, I felt light. Free. I had lost a family, but I had gained myself. I stepped outside. The sun was setting, painting the sky in violet and gold, the same colors that now stained my former parents' hands. I took out my phone and dialed a familiar number. Grandpa? Put the stakes on. I'm on my way. And I'm starving. $7 million were safe in a bank vault. But my true wealth that evening was heading for dinner with the only real family I had. Wealth that couldn't be stolen, because it was kept not in a safe, but in my heart.